A new pope has been announced today. The Catholic Church has presented Robert Francis Prevost as their 267th pontiff. He's taken the papal name Pope Leo XIV, and he's the first American pope in history, originally hailing from Chicago. Many Roman Catholics and Christians around the world were hoping the new pope would be more conservative and reinstill a more traditional approach to the faith, especially considering the pope and his words have such significant influence on the world. Regardless of your faith, you can't deny this fact. For Roman Catholics, what the Pope says goes and reaches almost every household worldwide. A quick look at the new Pope's X account. We already see he shared similar sentiments to Pope Francis, which have been largely rejected by people worldwide. For example, here is an article he shared in 2015 about why Donald Trump's anti-immigrant rhetoric is so problematic. We can see the destruction that mass immigration has caused all over the West, which includes, by the way, increased attacks on Christianity, the most persecuted religion in the world, particularly over the past few years, which coincides with increases in mass immigration. Many people criticize the last pope for being too political, and this may be a pattern we'll see with Pope Leo XIV also. As soon as February of this year, he tweeted about why J.D. Vance was apparently wrong in saying that you love your family, and then you love your neighbor, and then you love your community, and then you love your fellow citizens, and then after that, you prioritize the rest of the world. These are things that are publicly searchable and widely available, but it may be too premature to judge just based on this alone. What we're most interested in is a much deeper, much more sinister story. Many people have already taken to his Wikipedia page, and let me just say, we take everything on Wikipedia with a grain of salt, but this isn't the end of the story, and it is worth noting something that they point out on here. So under Augustinian leadership, it says, in 1998, Prevost was elected provincial, and they say clarification needed there, of the Augustinian province of Chicago, and returned to the United States to assume that position on March 8, 1999. In 2000, Prevost allowed Father James Ray, an Augustinian priest, to reside at St. Johnstone Friary in Chicago. Ray had been suspended from public ministry since 1991 due to credible accusations of sexual abuse of minors. Although the priory was close to a Catholic elementary school, Prevost did not notify the school administration about Ray. The Augustinians noted that Ray was assigned a monitor while at St. Johnstone. Ray was moved to a different residence in 2002 when the US Conference of Catholic Bishops adopted stricter rules for handling priests accused of abusing minors. It also notes here that Prevost has faced criticism from advocates for clergy abuse survivors regarding his handling of sexual abuse allegations during his leadership in the Augustinian order and in Peru. We'll talk about that more in a moment. The advocacy group SNAP has alleged that Prevost failed to act against abuse claims involving Richard McGrath, a former president of Providence Catholic High School, allowing him to remain in his position despite long-standing accusations. So we did some digging, and what we found was not old, historical, unsubstantiated claims. These are recent, credible accusations that span far further than his Wikipedia page. Let us be clear, these are accusations, and we are of the firm belief that people are innocent until proven guilty, but we do think this warrants further investigation. And that's exactly the problem. It seems that multiple attempts to investigate several claims of child sexual abuse have been stifled, and the new Pope Leo XIV has been involved along the way. The first article we'd like to present to you is from an outlet called The Daily Compass. It's written by Riccardo Cascioli, who's an Italian journalist and author of several books. The article is titled Pedophile Priests Cover Up Casts Shadows Over Prevost, Cardinal Who Selects Bishops. And this is from the 16th of September 2024, and it says, from the moment Robert Prevost was appointed prefect of the Dicastery for Bishops in 2023, attempts to erase the clues about how he covered up two priests accused of pedophilia in his diocese of Chiclayo, Peru, have multiplied, including the persecution of the alleged victim's lawyer and the appointment of a friendly bishop. New scandal in the Vatican. So the allegations in the article relate to abuse from two priests and accusations against Pope Leo XIV for covering them up. It states that Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost was the Bishop of Chiclayo in Peru until Pope Francis appointed him on the 30th of January 2023 to lead the dicastery that presides over the appointment of all the world's bishops, an office that he actually assumed on the following 12th of April. The Daily Compass says that they are in possession of sworn testimonies of 3 victims detailing events that happened between 2006 and 2010 and involved 2 priests from the Diocese of Chiclayo. Those 2 priests are Father Elefterio Vasquez Gonzalez, known as Father Lute, and Father Ricardo Yesquen. The victims who filed the complaint were 3 young women, children between 10 and 14 years old at the time of the alleged abuse, 3 sisters, who decided to denounce the priests after discovering that they had all suffered similar abuse. The most prominent of the 3 victims was Ana Maria Quispe-Diaz, who had contacted Bishop Robert Prevost by telephone in early 2020 to report the behaviour of the 2 priests and especially of Father Lute. Reportedly, Father Vasquez's modus operandi was similar with respect to all 3 victims. He reportedly arranged to be accompanied to some mission in distant parishes where the children would have to stay overnight with him and, coincidentally, there would only be one bed to share, and there hugs, groping, and physical sexual abuse would occur. Restrictions due to the pandemic prevented a meeting in person between the women and Prevost, which finally took place on the 5th of April 2022 in the Episcopal See of Chiclayo, with all 3 sisters present. Prevost, who curiously enough was also the author of the Peruvian Episcopal Conference's guidelines for dealing with cases of sexual abuse, directed the women to the listening centre that he'd just set up and, according to the testimonies of the alleged victims, invited them to lodge a complaint with the public authorities because there was no way for the church to investigate and only civil investigations could be used by the church to sanction any perpetrators. In the meantime, in June of 2022, Father Lute was then transferred to his home parish of Santa Cruz, officially for health reasons. As for Father Yesquen, nothing could be done because he suffered from senile dementia and had already been in a nursing home for some time. Now, the update here is that the diocese is claiming that all material concerning the diocesan investigation was sent to Rome to the competent office of the Dicastery for the Doctrine of the Faith, which would then subsequently file the case. But the 3 young women claimed that they were never summoned for a testimony by any investigator and that there is no trace of this investigation or of any examination by the Vatican Dicastery. The only time they were able to tell their story before an investigator officially appointed by the diocese was when Prevost's successor, Apostolic Administrator Bishop Guillermo Corneo Monzon, opened or reopened, according to the diocese, the investigation in December of 2023. Why did they do this? Well, this was after Ana Maria Quispe-Diaz, exasperated by the diocese's silence, made her story public via social media, where she also allegedly discovered at least 7 other cases of young girls abused by the 2 priests. Now, again, we want to expressly state that these are allegations and people are innocent until proven guilty. What is certain, according to the author, is that since the first report in 2020, there has been no move by Prevost to clarify the substance of the allegations. The investigation is clearly unfinished, and so the point here really is, when picking the head of the Catholic Church, you'd surely like to pick someone that's clean as a whistle, no accusations, stands up for the doctrine of their faith without any blemishes that could potentially bring the church into disrepute. And some may say, well, it's not proven. Well, our point is, it's still under investigation. If the investigation is still ongoing and yet to be examined, why would they appoint someone who may be found guilty after the investigation is complete? Either way, we will judge them by their fruits. We hope that he clarifies this situation and is able to show that he is, in fact, in the clear with no wrongdoing and no cover-ups involved.